Guys, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, my name is Sadie and I basically wanted to take you kind of through my fitness journey today. So at this point in time, I have run a marathon. I do weight training. I have done for a couple of years now, very consistently. I'm also a PT in training. So yeah, I thought I'd kind of go over how I got started and just my relationship, I guess, my lifelong relationship with fitness. So starting off very young, I was always a super fast runner. I absolutely loved just sprinting as quickly as I could, super short distances obviously, but just running really fast. So that was kind of throughout primary school I started finding my love for that. And I guess also my talent for that, I guess. I was always kind of one of the fastest girls in my year. I remember having a competition once of like whoever was the fastest out of me and this other girl. We got to be, I think it was like the sport captain. I think this was when we were in year 6, I believe. And so we were like 10 and I raced against this girl and I won, so kind of love that. But yeah, so throughout, yeah, basically primary school, I just loved that. So I didn't really have a love for any other sports, but I'll explain properly in a minute. But and still to this day, I'm not the biggest fan of team sports. But yeah, I'll get to that in a few minutes. So in secondary school, I continued to love fast, short distances. We also obviously did a sports day at the end of every school year, and it was my favourite day of the year, like a day just basically of PE. It was my favourite thing ever. So yeah, I always did 100-meter sprint in all of the sports days that we did. A couple of times I got convinced to do a 200-meter sprint, but that was basically as far as I was able to do and be happy with. I wouldn't want to do any more than that. That was my limit. I also generally loved just athletics in general. That was kind of my chosen sport. You know, things like shot put and javelin, long jump. Just not really things that would last a particularly long amount of time, but things that were kind of short, snappy, and the way I saw it, I thought it was very fun. So I also took up GCSE PE when I was, so we were coming out of year 8 is when I decided on it. And at that point in time, I wanted to be a personal trainer. That was, I don't think I actually quite knew what it was, but I really wanted to be a personal trainer. I didn't want to be a PE teacher. I didn't want to work within sport in like that kind of way, but yeah, basically that was my kind of ambition at that time. And so I started that going into year 9. So I think I was 14 at that point, maybe about to turn 15 I think. And I did actually end up failing GCSE PE only slightly. So to get a pass in the UK, you need to have a C or higher, so an A start to C, and I got a D in that, so yeah, that was quite annoying. But I'm pretty sure I can't really remember in detail now, but I'm pretty sure I did okay in the practical side of things, but it was the theory that got me, like the, you know, learning the muscles and the body systems and everything. It was just the sciencey bit that just didn't sink in, so that was the only part kind of where I got let down. And to be honest, it's one of those things I still kind of struggle to remember now. I'm good with muscle groups and everything now, but I think that's purely because I train, so I'm aware of it, and like, you know, I know the importance of it. I know when I'm training what muscle I'm doing, and you know, but in terms of science and body systems and everything, most of the time it just goes straight over my head. So as I mentioned before, I kind of hated team sports. I didn't hate the actual sports themselves, but it was just generally the experience of it, I guess, because there would be a lot of girls that would, like, their friends would be in the same class, and I didn't have any friends that was like super into sport, so none of them took GCSE PE. It was all kind of like this group of girls that, yeah, took it up, and they were all friends, so whenever we were in like team sports like netball or hockey or anything, they would pass to their friend, and I would just be kind of, you know, left out of it, I guess. So that's the only real reason why I didn't like it. And I guess I just haven't been part of a team sport since being out of school. And I feel like it's one of those things that's quite difficult to get into when you're an adult. So I would really like to, but it's just, I guess, having that confidence to be able to kind of enter that space again. And when we were doing GCSE PE, as we were getting a little bit older, so we were like 15, 16 sort of age, we started to do resistance-based gym classes. So literally just go into the gym and do whatever you want for an hour, basically. And I had the best time with it. It was my favourite thing. And obviously, because we were that age, you're not supposed to do actual weightlifting, because it can hurt your like your development and your growth and everything. So there were resistance-based machines where they wouldn't have a weight on them, but it was obviously just a resistance there. And then we also started doing circuit training as well, which both of those I just absolutely loved. So you can kind of see here there's like a little bit of a there's a development, I guess. Like, I really enjoyed running, I really enjoyed the gym and circuits when I was at school, and now obviously I do running, weightlifting, and I don't really do circuits now, but you know, it's of a similar entity to gym training. And as well, as much as I loved sport when I was in school, I never took it outside of school at all. I never joined any clubs. I think it was mostly because of the ones I was aware of. They were all the team sport type of things. But there was an athletics club that is in my town, and I just never joined it. I never kind of did anything else with it. I just purely did it at school. And it was only when leaving school, I guess because I didn't have that period of time anymore where I was doing PE, I wasn't, didn't have it scheduled into my days. That is when I started going to the gym, pretty much, quite soon after leaving secondary school. I really, really missed doing PE, and I just wanted to kind of continue that on, and obviously bought it outside of school for once. And it was a very local gym. There wasn't much there, and because I didn't know what I was doing and continued to not know what I was doing for years, I would mostly do machines, which obviously is fine, but I wouldn't know what they were doing unless it was my arms or my legs. But other than that, I had no idea. I wouldn't have a plan going into there. I would literally just walk in, find a machine, use it. I don't think I knew anything about reps or sets or anything. I don't even know how I did any of it, to be honest. I think I just did it for a bit and thought, oh, I'm done now, and then move on to the next machine. But that is quite funny to think back on. To just literally walk into a gym and be like, yep, sure, I'll do that. Yep, I'm done now, cool. And I continued to go to the gym. I also went with my friend as well. So we started out of secondary school and then continued throughout college, and I also continued throughout my first year of uni. Although I definitely wasn't consistent with it at all. I wasn't disciplined with it. I just kind of went when I felt like it, or when my friend asked me to go. I was also quite lazy with it as well. I was like I don't want to go. I won't go. So it definitely wasn't a regular thing that I was doing. I mean, maybe once or twice a week, but it really wasn't anything consistent by any means. And it was during COVID actually that I started to run a little bit. Longer distances as well. I say longer distances for me. They were, I think I started out by doing like 3 and 5Ks. No more than that. I think one time I did a 6K and I was like, no. I wouldn't go anywhere near a 10K. I was like, no, that's too much. It's obviously my history of doing very, very short distances. The whole idea of even doing a 5K just baffled me. And yeah, I really hated it in the beginning. The main reason I actually did it, so I was just sitting around during COVID for a while, and I was obviously doing uni work, but we were doing uni work from home at this point, and yeah, I was very, very sedentary. And my boyfriend Fraser, he has a little bit of a history of running. I think he did like a couple 10K races before, and yeah, he was going out on a few runs because the gyms were closed at this point, and he asked if I wanted to come along. I was very reluctant for a while. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I can't run. But I eventually said yes and came out with him, and yeah, I really, really hated it. I literally couldn't get up the road without hyperventilating and having to stop because I just couldn't breathe. And that is purely because I was going way too fast. I was, one, trying to go too fast for my ability because I was so used to those short sprints, and I was trying to go at a decent speed. But two, I was also trying to keep up with Fraser, who had a much better, like a much stronger history of running longer distance. So it was just a disaster in that sense. But I kept at it a little bit and I kept seeing progression. But I wasn't doing any races. Obviously it was COVID anyway, but I wouldn't even get up to 10K at all. I was happy doing that. Again, wasn't very consistent with it, just kind of did it every now and then type of thing, maybe once a week, maybe twice a week. And it was then in early July 2021, so obviously COVID was like, I think we started running around April 2020. So then early July 2021 my nan passed away, and that was a really, really tough thing for me. It was the first time I'd ever lost anyone, and out of everyone she was the worst one to lose. So I didn't handle it at all. I didn't know how to handle it. So I basically, as part of a coping mechanism, just started eating cakes, chocolate, anything sugary or fatty that I could find. Just ate my feelings away. And it was then in August, so I kind of had like a full, maybe just over a month of that, because it was in early July that she died, but there was a period of, I think about 3 weeks before then, where things were still, things were building up. So it was probably about 2 months-ish, like a month and a half of just eating everything I could see. And yeah, it was then in August that I decided to get an online coach, because I'd gained quite a bit of fat at that point. And I just wasn't happy with that. Obviously it's fine to use that as a coping mechanism, especially because it was the first time I was dealing with it and I didn't know how to deal with it. And it was fine, I was 20 at that point, so I understand looking back, but it was something that I just wasn't happy with at that time. I wanted to feel better about myself. I didn't want to feel horrible about myself on the outside and the inside. So yeah, basically I decided to get an online coach, and one, to lose that fat, get rid of it, at least cut it down, but also to finally learn what on earth I was doing in the gym. because obviously, as I mentioned, I've been going for a few years inconsistently, but I never had any idea what I was doing. I didn't go anywhere near the free weights. I was like, nope, man section, which is really funny to think of, but honestly, the amount of people like that think that, it's crazy. And it's definitely one of those things, at least for me, and from what I've heard, that if you don't just kind of put yourself in that, you're always going to think it's the man section. Like, you just are. You're always going to kind of be scared of it until you do it, basically. Yeah, because I started going to the gym, I was very, very committed to that. I think especially because I had a plan and I had a trainer and I had someone constantly checking in with me every week. So that was definitely a really, really good stepping stone to properly get into weightlifting. I would definitely recommend it for anyone that maybe has been to the gym like for a little while and they have no idea what they're doing and they just, you know, they want to learn. Just get a coach. You can get a personal trainer and they can come and, you know, be with you in person to actually show you, or you can get an online coach. It's a little bit cheaper, but you know, they set programs for you, they show you videos of what you need to be doing and everything, so it is in general just, I think, a very good thing. And obviously I'm training to be one eventually, some point this year. I currently have my level 2 in gym training, and then yeah, I'm working on my level 3 personal training, so once I've got that, then I will be all qualified to start taking on clients, which is really cool. And then I can kind of be on the other side of it, which is, yeah, really, really cool. But yeah, I kind of gave up on running a little bit. I do it every now and then, but I just wasn't consistent with it at all. The gym definitely took over, but also I was very much a beginner in both. So to take on both at the same time consistently would have been insane. At least to be doing, you know, both of them 3 or 4 times a week, which when I'm in my training box, I have previously done that, not with marathon training, but with half marathon training, just because it's a little bit lesser like impact and everything, it's less time, so I was able to keep my weight training in with that as well. But yeah, definitely not in the beginning when you're starting out. But I did eventually start taking running a lot more seriously in my last year of uni, so that was in 2021. Yeah, so it would have been September 2021 until May 2022 is when I finished. So kind of in that academic year, that was when I kind of started doing it a bit more. I remember doing some training programs on Nike Run Club app, but I'm not sure what they were. It was probably just like a 5k or something, or I don't think I even got up to a 10k, but it just kind of gave me the idea of what a training program would be like. So doing speed runs, recovery runs. I definitely didn't do recovery runs as slowly as I should have. I did them much, much faster than I should have, but that was something that I learned a lot later about being in heart rate zones. And yeah, I won't go into too much detail with that in this video, but if you want to learn a bit more about that, definitely just Google heart rate zones in running, or heart rate zones for recovery runs, just anything like that, and then you can learn a bit more about it, because it definitely is very valuable for your long-term development in running. And it was in 2022 I booked my first half marathon. I can't remember when in the year that I did this. I think it must have been later on. But that half marathon was for April 2023, which obviously I've completed. And it actually happened so that when I was in the middle of training for that, I got the opportunity to do another half marathon, the Cambridge Half Marathon, on the 3rd of March. So I decided to do both, which for me at that point, where my first 10k was in that half marathon training. Yeah, so it was definitely, it felt like a crazy thing that I was doing. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna be doing 2 half marathons in the space of a month. Like, that's crazy. But I was really proud of myself for doing that, and the Cambridge one was such an amazing experience. It was so good. I'm so glad it was my first race, whereas the April one was actually kind of awful. Not in the sense, nothing to do with the, you know, the team that put it on or anything, or it was more so the venue, really, because I didn't realise it would be more trail based. Well, it was a trail run, but I didn't realise that. And I had my brand new shoes. They were like bright yellow, and there had been like a massive downpour like the day before, and it was mud and muddy water everywhere, and yeah, I just didn't know what I was getting myself in for, and it was horrible. I cried at one point, but it's just one of those things, like, you're gonna have a bad run sometimes, and you might book a race and you might not realise what it is exactly that you got yourself in for, but it is one of those things, like, you know, I've got the medal, I did it. I'm proud of myself for pushing myself through a horrible race like that, and all in all, didn't get a terrible time for what it was. So with the Cambridge Half Marathon, I think I got 2 hours and 2 minutes, and then with the April one, I got 2 hours and 14 minutes. So not awful, to be honest, bearing in mind the conditions. So yeah, obviously kind of since doing, so I did those 2 half marathons, and then I also did 3 10k races in the summer of 2023, and I did my first marathon in October. I've also got a video on that if you want to see the full thing. Obviously it was quite hard to film that, but I filmed bits and then just kind of explained my whole experience. But in general, it was so hard. So much harder mentally than anything I've done. I say even harder than the April half marathon, just because it was so much longer. Obviously it was just under double the time. I was 4 hours and 20 minutes, and yeah, it was insane. And when I got to that finish line, I literally I stayed quiet for a while, and when Fraser, he was trying to find me and he couldn't find me in the end, but eventually when he came over, he spoke to me and I just started crying, because it was just such a rush of emotion, and it was the most insane thing I've ever done. I'm just honestly so proud of it to this day. It was my favourite day, I think, of last year. And I have also got, so for this year, in 2024, I have got another half marathon booked for March. So I'm doing the Colchester half marathon, and my hope, my plan is to get get a PB of sub 2 hours. So obviously my one before, my best was 2 hours and 2 minutes, and yeah, I just kind of want to knock a few minutes off of that and get sub 2 hours. I also think, I haven't obviously booked anything yet because there's nothing available, but my plan is to do another marathon in October as well, and hopefully get, I mean, ideally I'd love to get sub 4 hours, but knocking 20 minutes off, I don't know how realistic that is. But as long as I get a PB, then I'm happy, because I know it's not all about PBs, but I do just want to, you know, keep improving, keep moving forward, and keep getting better. So yeah, that is basically my whole fitness journey up until this point. In the future, I also really want to be doing ultra marathons. I really want to run 100k before I'm 30, I'm thinking. That, yeah, is obviously more of a long-term goal. I'm 23 at the moment, so I just turned 23. So I've got a while, but yeah, there are definitely some exciting things that I want to be achieving in the future, particularly I think to do with running. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give a thumbs up, comment down below any of the videos you want to see from me, and also comment down below any of your guys' like history with fitness and your story, because that would be super interesting to hear. Also, if you've got any races booked for 2024, because that would be really cool to hear as well. But yeah, I will see you in the next one.